What's going on, everyone? It's Mike back again, and this is just talking about the future. We've been linked with lots of players, and I wanted this video to be a little bit different. But this video, we were talking to John, and unfortunately, John can't make this one. So I said to John, look, I want to talk about where I think we could go, and the strategy, and the long-term plans, and some of the stuff around Goodison. And it's recently been announced that the fundamentally the football school's going to be at Goodison, the ladies are going to be at Goodison. They're turning Goodison into this hub, which I love. I absolutely love this. It's a way of keeping Goodison as the centre of Everton Football Club, and I really like it. I mean, the next development would be for me to see some of the academy players going there and playing more games there, and I think you'll see that. I think more announcements on the under-23s, etc. will be there as well. But Goodison Park is becoming this... It's moved from this home of the men's football team, where it's been there for, over 125 years, into this whole of Everton nurturing everyone else, and it is so fitting that Goodison Park is being used for that. I worry about the maintenance costs, I worry about the upkeep costs. I have no idea how that sort of thing affects PSR, but what I will tell you is I like it, and that's the main thing in this situation. The other thing I want to mention is around the development of current players, the under-23s, under-21s. We know that Leighton Baines has been part of David Moyes' first team coaching staff. We know that Seamus Coleman, it looks like he's going to sign a playing contract, but it feels like he's going to have a little bit more input with the younger generation of players as well. He is Mr. Everton. I love that as well, and I think for the younger players, for example, Dixon and Reece Welsh and various other younger players that we've sort of seen the odd glimpse of. These are the players that you want to see stepping into the first team. You want to see that development. Amari Benjamin, there's another one there who I think is highly rated. So, look, for me, I'm quite excited about the future. And then I wanted to just talk about that a little bit, not for long, not to bore you, but really just hit home at some of those key things and key strategy changes that I think the Freaking Group are going to do. So, look, let's get into it. Let's start with the playing style. We know the playing style changed towards the end of last season, but I don't actually think we've seen the full development of what David Moyes wants to do. You can't come into a team that played so poorly under a poor manager in Sean Dyche into scoring goals and actually probably not being quite as tight at the back, but being a little bit more charismatic going forward, a little bit more potent going forward, and creating chances for strikers like Beto, which worked out. I think we're only just seeing a little bit of that. If you look at all the David Moyes teams over the years, including Everton, he's always had a sort of playmaker, a quality footballer in the middle of the park. Arteta, he had at one point, I think it was Lanzini at West Ham. He's always had a sort of player that he can rely on to pull the strings. He's always had an absolute workhorse as a sort of CDM. In terms of, the ability to break down play and carry the ball forward when needed. He's had Thomas Gravison, he's had Lee Carsley. He actually managed to turn a player in like Leon Osman, for example, who maybe didn't have that physical attribute, but he managed to turn him into a ball-carrying midfielder who got the odd goal, nice goals, who worked really hard, was a good ball dribbler. He managed to utilise all these players and create a team of... there wasn't exceptional pace in that Everton team. If you go back into the 2006, 2007, 2008, there wasn't like blistering pace, but what there was, it was a lot of good footballers, and that is what I feel like he's actually doing here. You look at Ndai, he's an absolutely sensational ball carrier, and I think Everton, he only signed a 3-year deal. I think Everton really need to be smart here. I think they really need to start. We don't want to get this guy into his last year of his contract. I honestly think Everton should be negotiating now. Maybe a 6-month process, but it'd be really good for him to sign a longer deal because he is an absolute superstar and he is destined to be a superstar. In my opinion, I think he can go to the absolute top. He has got fantastic ability, and he reminds me so much of players that we've had in the past who are so good at ball carrying, but maybe not blistering pace, but can score a goal, can create a chance, can be strong, tenacious. You know, I used to think Stephen Pienaar, he wasn't particularly quick, but he had great feet. He was quick to a ball. He'd always put a foot in, and he had a goal in him. Njai is probably a better version of Pienaar. And then when you look at the rest of the team, you know, he's looking for that sort of player. You could argue that Arteta and Njai, maybe there's a similarity there as well. But the point I'm making is there is players in that Everton team or spots available in that Everton team where I think David Moyes is looking at it and he's going, right, I seriously think we need a big strong number 6, or you know, we need a big strong number 8. I think Moyes probably would have done a fantastic job with players like Amadou Onana. To be honest, I think he would have done a great job with him. And look how he developed Fellaini. He developed Fellaini from a 6 to almost a 10, even a striker at times. So David Moyes is used to this sort of group of type of players. It's why I'm not actually, when I've looked back at it, I'm not concerned that we've got players who can do similar jobs. You know, Dwight McNeil, not particularly quick, good ball carrier, good passer. Njai, not absolutely rapid, but quick enough, beat a player, skill them inside out, score a goal. I think we're in a good position like that. He's then also got that sprinkling of youth, which again, he's always had. He had it with Declan Rice at West Ham. He had it with Ross Barkley at Everton. He's got it at Everton with Harrison Armstrong, in my opinion, a player that I think we will see a little bit more of, and certainly after this season, I think we may see regular. So, again, you're looking at an Everton team that, again, is changing. So that's the midfield and that sort of attacking sort of arc. We know we need a centre forward, and there's no getting around that. And it's almost a little bit unjust on Beto. You know, Beto scored, 10 Premier League goals, I think, in 31 games, and not all of those games were starts. That's not a bad stat. But what Beto doesn't particularly do great is he's not brilliant in the holding up the ball, taking the pressure off the defence. He's very tenacious, he's very aggressive. He'll go in and he'll charge around. He can be a headless chicken at times. But that composure to keep the ball when Everton are just needing to get the ball up that pitch and keep it there, that is a problem that he has. He can't do it. So it's something I think Everton need to address, and I think they're looking at addressing it. You know, we've been linked with the lad from Villarreal, we've been linked with the lad from Germany, etc. We've been linked with various strikers. I'm not mentioning those because this isn't a transfer video, but we've been linked with these players. And I think in that sort of mould, that's the sort of mould he's going to go for. We've also been linked with the young Brighton lad who was on loan at West Ham. And to be honest, he didn't do much at West Ham for me. He didn't do enough for me to command the salary, and not the salary, the premium of cost that he would cost to get into Everton. He's young, etc. But for me, I think it's almost 12 months too late for that sort of move. So I don't think it's particularly easy. And then there's also the opportunity to bring in these free transfers. And what do you do with Chimiti? You know, Chimiti hasn't been given game time under Moyes. It wasn't like he was a small outlay at the time. We spent £12 million when really we shouldn't have spent £12 million. You know, we needed that money in other positions. And it was something that I criticised Kevin Falwell for quite heavily, and I still do. I think that was a waste of money. Just like the Malpay stuff, a waste of money. Danjuma was a waste of a loan fee, whatever that cost. So for me, I think we need to seriously look at, you know, the recruitment in that area. Is Chimiti going to go out on loan? Is he going to get minutes? Because he looked absolutely fantastic at times during pre-season, albeit he's playing teams that he should look absolutely fantastic against. I want to see a bit more of that. I want to see a bit more of Chimiti. What does that look like? Is that a loan move and we watch from afar? Or is that in a blue shirt gracing the Hill Dickinson Stadium? We'll see. We then talk about defence. and that structure. And structurally, Everton have been fine. We've made the odd mistake. We've had been exposed in the middle a little bit at times this season. It's allowed a counter press. I think the big thing for me is that we make sure that we keep Branthwaite and we actually do transition O'Brien into being a centre half. I'm not saying that at the start of this season, but I am saying that we need to do it in time. Tarkowski's not getting any younger. There's rumours around Michael Keane maybe staying, maybe not staying. For me, I'm fine with the 4 centre halves. I know Millsy come on here and was saying about ripping off the plaster and getting rid of Michael Keane, but it's just another body to add. And I just don't think we're in that positive environment where we can just add players. I think it's really difficult. Me and John were talking about the loan utilisation. That's again a key area for Everton this season. But for me, I think we've got more pressing issues at the actual fullback positions. The right backs that we've got. Somebody was telling me we've got 3. We've got Seamus Coleman, who breaks down. We've got Nathan Patterson, who I haven't seen enough for him to be a Premier League player. So, and then if you're throwing in Dixon in there, then you've got Dixon. I don't know who the other right back is. You've got the 4 centre halves, including O'Brien. If people are saying O'Brien's a right back, he's not. Long term, he's not. And then at left back, we've got one. We've got one in Mykolenko, who, by the way, has been fantastic at times. He's trying to go forward a lot more, but he's not Leighton Baines. He's not a player that can get up and down that pitch. And cause the problems in the attacking third, as well as he defends the final half third. He is a good defender, but he is a defender. And you almost need Leighton Baines. You could have argued was a wing back. He was up and down. He was delivering crosses. He was getting shots off. He'd pop up on one side and deliver a ball to Seamus Coleman on the other, and it worked both ways. Mykolenko probably isn't that. So I think that is an area that we need to strengthen. So that's the team. Pickford speaks for itself. There'll be a number 2 that comes in that really won't play many games. You then move on to the playing style, and as I've said, I think Moyes will be concentrating on playing through the lines and playing on that counter, playing with the ability to drop a ball into the middle of the park and pick. I think you'll see centre forwards that will move out of position and spread the centre halves, and I think you'll find a 10 that will go through that gap. I think it's very encouraging for Everton that they've got probably 2 or 3 players in these positions already that can really hurt other teams. Branthwaite will sit in the middle. I'm not saying he's the best passer of the ball by any stretch, but he's a commanding centre half. You've got Njai, who can do that sort of 10, getting in that spot and carrying the ball through a gap. You've also got McNeil, who can do the same thing, by the way, and Charlie Alcaraz. So you've got 3 players there that can all do a similar job, either out wide or go in direct. You've got Beto, who can move into those channels. The problem with Beto is he won't find the pass after, so you need a better striker in that sense. The midfield, Garner will dominate, but he's not getting younger. And, the rumours were that he was signing a new deal. As of right now, he hasn't. That concerns me a little bit, because he will have had offers on the table. So that concerns me a little bit. So that's how I think Everton will play, which is using the width, either to go through the middle or to deliver balls into the box for a centre forward to head on. So that's your development of style of play. Defensively, look, I really don't need to talk about us defensively. We will be fine. We will be fine. We've got one of the best goalkeepers in the world. We've got, in my opinion, on their day, 3 of the best centre halves in the league. They're up there. I think Branthwaite is outstanding. O'Brien, I actually rate as highly as Branthwaite. People haven't caught on to that yet, but I rate him that high. And you've got Tarkowski, who is a stalwart. Premier League knows those 2, will nurture them and will do everything he can to support his team. For me, the 3 of them, absolutely great. Michael Keane in reserve, backing it up. So that's great. You've got salaries like Neil Maupay and Mason Holgate coming off the book. So if you did need to invest a bit more money into players like Branthwaite, New Deals and O'Brien, etc., it should be there. The salary should be there. So that's a positive. But then the other thing that I think we need to talk about is the future, which is David Moyes. So David Moyes signed a 2.5-year deal. For me, David Moyes at the end of these 2 years will have a serious... he'll have a serious question to answer in 2.5 years' time, because I don't see Moyes getting sacked. I think Moyes is far too good a manager to put Everton into a position where he could get sacked. Moyes is too charismatic, he's too honest, in a good way. He tells the fans what he thinks. He tells the fans that, we want to be aiming for Europe. I loved his statement that he made at the OBE thing, and again, credit to David Moyes, but he comes out and he goes, we've been in Europe once, why can't we do it again? Mate, he's absolutely spot on. This Everton team should be competing for Europe, absolutely. Not necessarily this players and this group of team and this setup, but Everton as an entity, as a football club, should absolutely be in the top 6. Absolutely. And teams like Tottenham shouldn't be anywhere near it, albeit they've just won a European trophy, by the way. So, not digging them out, but there's no reason that shouldn't have been Everton. And if that investment was there 10, 15 years ago when David Moyes was there, I think it would have been a very different story for Everton, if I'm being honest. So that's that sense. That's that sense of development. But in 2.5 years' time, David Moyes is going to be asked a question: are you the man to take Everton forward? And I think that's going to be a difficult question for him, because he has made it very clear he's wanting to manage Scotland. He's made it very clear that he wants Everton to go forward. He loves the club, etc. All of these positive things. But there's going to be a split between wherever Everton are in 2.5 years, or 2 years. What manager could push Everton on further? Where David Moyes has got us, and equally what the Freakins want. Do the Freakins want a team that's going to challenge for the top 8 every year, and that will bring in X amount of revenue, X amount of money, and they're happy with that? Or do they want Everton to be challenging the status quo? The Arsenals, the Man Cities, the Liverpools. Do they want Everton in that group? Because in that group is Chelsea, Newcastle, Villa, Tottenham, and probably Man United. Does he want Everton to be that 6th team in that challenging group? I don't know. I hope he does. I hope he wants us in that challenging group, and we should be. We absolutely should be. But I don't know. So I think that's where there has to be this continuity plan, this development plan, this strategy. And whoever comes in those 2 years has to know that that's the reason you're there. You are there because David Moyes did an excellent job. But he can't, for whatever reason, maybe it's European football experience, maybe it's pedigree, whatever it is, he can't take Everton to the top 4. He can't take Everton to a Premier League title. He can't take Everton to, consistent Champions League qualifiers. So this is, again, where whoever comes in has to be ballsy enough to do that. That, I think, is a difficult thing, and we won't really know about that until 2 years' time. But that's where Everton should be aiming, shouldn't they? They should be aiming for Europe. They should be aiming for consistent football. So, yeah, look, I'm positive. I'm happy. I think we're in a good spot. I think recruitment-wise, this summer's going to be good. I think next summer could be great, and I think the summer after is absolutely going to be interesting. So, we'll see. But look, I'm leaving it there. I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's a little bit different, sort of trying to break down a few things. It's one of the things I enjoy, which is looking at something a little bit deeper, analytically, looking at some of the areas of maybe gaps and really trying to fill them. I think the fundamentals are Everton need a minimum of 7 players. They don't need 13. They need 7. Now, if you go and spend £100 million on 3 players and go and get 4 loans, I'm happy with that. I don't care how it is made up. Because fundamentally, there's key players in this Everton team which need to stay beyond, which is Enjoy, which hopefully is Branthwaite. I mean, they need to see the project, the future developing. And that, hopefully, is what happens. So, look, guys, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. I've enjoyed rambling for 20 minutes. If you need anything in the meantime, of course, just message us on Twitter and DMs and all that stuff, and we are there. But look, guys, love you all as always. Support's been great, so if you can continue to support, that is great. As of this video, I am in a field. So you're watching this a day after I recorded it. So in that field, I suspect it's raining, it's wet, and I'm in a tent. So feel sorry for me, okay? And I want you to, in the comments, feel sorry for me. And if you don't, you'll be blocked. I'm joking. Right, until then, look, I'll see you soon. Up the toffees. Peace.